And we're
Yes.
live. Hey guys, welcome to Whiskey, Wine, and Writing. I'm Tasha,
And I'm Nikki.
and we have the most awesome Rhonda Helms here with us today. She is a freelance editor for Carina Press and a fabulous new adult author. I've read 3 of her books. I've read One Broke Girl, Two Little Lies, and Scratch, and they're all fabulous. I just want to put that out there. So say hi, Rhonda.
Hello.
Don't mind us. We're playing around with Google Effects because Rhonda's been opening our eyes to the land of Hangout. It's been a lot of fun, actually. So if you guys head over to whiskeyWineWriting.com, you can go ahead and enter the giveaway. It says just for Scratch because I'm lazy. But if you already have Scratch, you can go ahead and enter. If you win, you will get one of Rhonda's other awesome books you will be able to choose. So she's pretty awesome like that. If you're in the US, you will have the choice of hard copy or digital. And then if you are out of the country, it's only digital. Sorry, guys, shipping rates suck. Hardcore. Just saying. So, Nikki, I think, is going over with our social media and getting all that stuff together. So you can see her smiling. So, Rhonda, since we are highlighting Scratch, since that just released this month, not last month, this month, just a few weeks ago. I read it in like a day. I think I was doing play-by-plays for you on Twitter. I was like, I love it. What are you doing? I love it. So tell us a little bit about what it's about and all that good stuff.
So, Scratch is a new adult romance, and it's about a girl who goes through a very traumatic event when she's a young teenager, and she's basically pushed it aside as much as she can out of her head. She's going through college, she's on a very sensible track, and then, of course, she meets somebody who, like, turns her world upside down.
I think Rhonda's a little frozen.
And he draws her.
Oh, you're kind of frozen. Yep, there you are.
Can you
okay,
hear me?
you're moving again. We're like, she's sitting there like this.
It was a
You always
very
get stuck in
frozen screenshot, so you were good there.
I swear.
I should just move really slowly so that if it does freeze, I look really cool.
I love it. So, yeah, it's really funny because you went all robotic in your voice, too. So it was like 80s, do the robot. What? Okay, sorry. So, you were saying? Scratch.
So, she has physical scarring from what she went through in her childhood, and she has to learn to overcome the trauma and face what happened to her and open up and let love in and let people in. You know? It's not just about the romantic relationship, but about her connecting to other people, too.
Yes, because she has a huge problem with that. I remember it was so hard for her, for anybody. She was just so scared. And the way that you did like the layers and the ups and downs of her starting to trust and then kind of pull away, and then thought that was really good, really realistic. I think that's, it wasn't rushed, it wasn't too slow. I think you did the building blocks for it really well. And I think she froze again.
I need to read this. I'm jealous you've gotten to read this already.
I kind of got it the first day it was out. I did the same thing with Brighton's Caged in Winter, and I read both their books. And I think I got behind on Brighton's because I had a test, so I was kind of studying for that. I have a test tomorrow too, but I'll just pull an all-nighter again.
I remember those days.
Well, I'm a late go-to-schooler because of life, but whatever. I'm catching up. It works. So. But, yeah, it's a fantastic book. Nikki, you definitely need to read it. Go buy it. Go buy it.
I'll totally go buy it as soon as I can. And everyone else should too, because that sounds fantastic.
So. And then it went quiet. So what was the concept? Like, how did you come up with the concept for Scratch? Were you just, like, moseying down the street and, damn, it hit you in the face? Or was it kind of a slow build? Or how'd you wind up coming up with the awesome story that it is?
Interestingly enough, it's something that is actually based on something that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So where Meister went to school, there was a girl who went through a very traumatic incident, and I always wondered what happened with her, how she coped with that, how she got over it, if she got over it. So that kind of rattled around the back of my head, and I was thinking about writing a new adult, and that's the idea that really stood out in my head. So I ran with it.
Did you have to do like a lot of research for it? Like on victim?
I did. Yeah, you know, like you looked at like PTSD, which is something that if you go through a traumatic incident like that, I looked up people who had been victims in this particular thing that happened to her and did a lot of research on that. Um, she's a DJ, and I used to DJ actually. I DJ'd at bars, and I DJ parties and weddings.
Turn the music up. Sorry. I can't sing.
And I did karaoke.
I did love that she was a DJ. I thought that was a very unique career to give a woman in fiction. Like, you don't read a lot of books that have women DJs. That was a very unique career to give her.
It was, you know, it was, you know, it's so powerful. So.
But I thought it was funny that she was like, "Yeah, this is kind of what I do, but I'm going for business," and I'm like, why? And then I realized it's safe. It's safety to her. So she was being smart and sensible and trying to make sure that she could control everything. And I think it's when she started to realize that she couldn't control everything that it just kind of started spindling out for her. But yeah, I loved it too. And she was like, never had guys like buy her drinks, and all of a sudden like she notices that they do. I don't know. I was like, yeah, that's right. See what confidence does, and I think that's when that changed. You know, because she didn't do anything with her hair or her clothes or her makeup. It was on the way she gave off the confidence, and I thought that was really cool that you didn't change her, but that people started to notice her not because of her changing herself physically, but her growing internally and giving off a different aura.
Absolutely. You know, it's more of an internal makeover, and not to make her prettier, but to help her open up to people and learn how to trust and let her guard down, you know. And once she started doing that, she started seeing the way it manifested in other areas of her life too. Yeah.
So, Nikki, you're all quiet there.
I do have a question. I was just really intrigued by the whole plot stuff, which I haven't gotten to read yet, so I'm like, I'm left out. But this is great hearing about it. I was wondering, as a professional editor, they always say, you know, editors also need an editor. So what was the revision process like for you?
Yeah, I absolutely believe. I think editing is important for everyone. There are things that, as a writer, we don't see in our own writing, and we need an outside perspective. And Peter at Kensington is my editor for these books. And, you know...
Is that Peter the Great on Twitter?
Yes. Uh-huh.
He is so awesome.
So
I like reading his tweets.
He's super fun. He's very sassy. So I actually get in February. I'm looking forward to that. I had to buy him a drink. So, but the process was fine, actually. You know, I sold it on proposal because I've written several books at this point. So I sold it on 3 chapters, and I wrote like an 11-page synopsis. So he knew exactly what he was getting into with it. You know, it was very detailed.
An 11-page synopsis? I have trouble with a 1-page synopsis.
Well, my synopsis becomes my outline. I'm a really heavy plotter, so I use that and I break it down into my scene-by-scene outline.
Do you ever
it just makes it easier for me to...
Sorry.
What's
that? Do you
that?
ever deviate from your plot when you write like that detailed?
Sometimes that happens where you're writing something and you're like, this actually isn't working out the way I thought it was going to work out, and so you got to give yourself permission to just run with it.
Cool.
Yeah, so, I mean, sometimes... What's that?
No, I was saying it's good to plot, but sometimes you have to realize that you might have to tweak what you plotted to make the book work.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've got that you are definitely not a pantser. Not a pantser. Not at all.
Nope. I tried once.
What happened when you tried to pant?
So the first book I wrote, I was like, so I sat down and I vomited out the first three chapters, and then I froze. I was like, what now? And I didn't write for like a year because I had no idea what to do. I didn't understand what plotting was. So once I found plotting, I was like, oh, you know, all the light bulbs are going off, and yeah, after that, I'm able to finish a book, but it was not pretty. I'm not a pantser. Nope.
I think I fall somewhere in between because I'll do a vague outline, like I'll know the major points I want to happen and how I want it to end, but I don't necessarily know which road is going to take me there, so I kind of think like I'm somewhere in between, that I have my plot, but I don't exactly know everything going on in between it, so I'm pantsing that part. So
I'm still kind of predominantly a pantser. I usually have to get to chapter 5 before I can do any kind of outline.
Each book is different from me.
Definitely.
Like some books are
what? I'm sorry, you cut out?
Some books, the plot comes easier, and some of them you pants a little more. Some of them, my outline might just be a sentence for a scene.
Definitely. So, and then you write predominantly in first person. Have you ever done anything in third person?
I have. I've written adult too.
Okay, I
wrote a. It's called The Inheritance. It's a mystery romance, and it started out in a serial, but it's out in one volume now. It's out with Berkeley Intermix, and it's written under the name Olivia Mayfield. That was my adult pen name, and it's a thing where her grandfather dies and his estate is up for grabs, and there's a contest. The person who can find out what happened to my heroine's sister, who disappeared several years ago, is the one who gets everything. So she's in competition against her brother, against the boy she dated when she was in high school, against the grandfather's gold-digging girlfriend. So, you know, it's drama.
Pretty cool.
That does sound. I want to see a movie. That sounds like a great movie.
It does.
I had a blast. Yeah, it's cool.
I don't know. It kind of feels like Clue meets Legally Blonde to me.
Yeah, I kind of have Veronica Mars a little bit in my head.
Yes, that is awesome. I already wrote down the name. I'm like, well, that's going on the to-read list. Not that I don't already have 4 books on my Kindle that need to be read, but you know. So every time I start to read it, one of the people I talk to on Twitter who are like the author people I'm acquainted with, they're like, oh, I'm just putting out a book, or oh, can you beta? And I'm like, okay. And then, yeah, that happens. So I still have this backlog of books I need to read. So
I feel you.
You did say, now that I kind of asked this before we went live, guys, that you are planning another one in the verse of Scratch with Megan, the roommate.
Yes.
Which makes me happy because she is adorable. She is so adorable.
Yeah, you know, I love Megan's character. I wanted to write a person of color anyway. So, you know, and she just really came to life for me. She's flawed, but she's human and she cares very deeply. And her relationship with Casey, who's the heroine of Scratch, is an important part of that story. A lot of fun. She actually ends up getting into a thing with her cryptography, super hot, and you know, he's like 9 years older than her, and it's all scandalous, and she's got some drama going on in her personal life too, so she's juggling all of these things, and you know, I enjoyed writing that story. It's different than Scratch, because Megan is a different person than Casey is. So
absolutely, Megan was very outgoing and vivacious and flirty and fun, and I mean, I loved her. I did. I thought she was so adorable the way you wrote her. I mean, she gets a little pushy at times, but it's like she does have the best at heart. She doesn't really mean to do anything malicious, but yeah, but she is
right.
Yeah.
She's a real person.
Exactly.
She's flawed, you know.
She has her good points and her bad points like everybody else in the world, and that's what makes a good character. So What are you reading these days, by the way? Always a good question.
What am I reading?
What's the writer?
Oh, I'm reading everything. I've actually taken like a bit of a break from writing because
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
so I've been doing a lot more reading than writing lately.
Okay, now go back. You said you were taking a break from writing because, and then you froze for like a good 10 seconds.
Because that's the mystery. You have to figure it out. I took a break because I wrote a bunch of novels in the last 12 months, like a crazy amount of books, and I kind of got a little burnt out, so I needed to take a break, and I broke my leg this summer.
Oh no,
so,
I remember about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's recouping now. The ankle is still messed up, but so everything kind of conspired to slow me down a little, but it's been good. I've actually been doing a lot more leisure reading, hanging out with my family, you know.
Nothing wrong with that, you know. Even writers need a break every once in a while, so that
Absolutely. So, you know, so I've been reading all over the place. I've been actually reading a lot of historical fiction, like historical literary fiction for some reason. I've been kind of caught up in different time periods in America, I guess. So, yeah, I just read one that was called The Promise. I think it was like $1.99 on Kindle, so I grabbed it, and it was an interesting book. It was set in 1900 in Galveston, Texas. There was this huge storm that came through, and it's about this woman who's she's like a wife of convenience, a marriage of convenience kind of thing. But then they actually start to fall for each other, and then the storm happens, and it's drama.
Definitely sounds interesting. So, speaking of the editing, you are a freelance editor for Carina Press.
Mm-hmm.
Carina Press is a subsidiary of Harlequin, no?
Yes.
Yes. So that has to be exciting.
I love it.
Yeah, how does that happen? Do they like give you projects to edit, or do the clients come to you to edit, or do they submit to you like an agent? How does that work?
So I have had agented and unagented author submissions. They can submit directly to me, or we have a submissions website that they can go to and just address the query to me. But I read submissions, and then I decide how I feel about it, if I think we should pass on it, if we should do a revise resubmit, or if we should try to acquire it. And if I want to acquire it, then I write up an acquisition letter, and I kind of got to pitch it to the team, you know. So then they ultimately decide what they think they want to do with it. And then if I get it, I get to edit it and work with the author, and it's awesome.
And all that fun stuff. So you're like a Pitch Wars mentor for Carina Press year-round.
Basically. No, I mean, I'm an acquisitions editor, so I get to acquire and then do the edits. We do developmental edits together and line edits, and, you know, it's fun. I love it. So I get to pick up the stuff that I like.
How many clients do you usually have at a time?
Are you talking about with Carina or with my other freelancing?
All put together. Like, how many people have you been helping, you know, all at once?
I do a lot of editing.
Awesome.
I probably, in general, I'd say I work on anywhere from 1 to 3 Carina books a month. They're all in different stages. So one might be in developmental edits, and another could be in line edits. Another could be just done with proofreading and ready to upload the final document. You know, and then on top of that, I also do freelance editing. So people who are self-publishing, or if they're looking to query agents or editors or whatever, I work with them as well. And I usually, I probably do 4 to 8 freelance editing projects a month. It just depends on what kind of edits are needed and how long the manuscript is, that kind of thing.
So I used to think I was the queen of multitasking, but I bow down to you. That's a lot of editing in a month. Like, how do you find time for anything else?
So it's taken me a while. You know, I've been doing this for a few years now. In February, I'll be with Carina for 5 years, and you know, yay! And I've been like doing this as my job for a few years now, maybe three years now. So basically, I've just learned my flow. I've learned how much I can edit in a day, and I break it down in page count, and then depending on what the size of the manuscript is, you know, maybe I usually edit like 80 to 100 pages a day. And to me, that's a good level where I don't burn out, but I'm still can be productive enough to get through the work I need to do. So I'll work on 1 or 2 books at the same time. One will be like, you know, maybe in the early morning, one is late morning, early afternoon, and then I'll do a few pages of writing. And that's how I do my schedule. I live and die by my daily calendar.
Great.
Sounds like me. If I don't have my calendar with me, I lose my mind. So my phone froze up today, like, and I had to completely take out the battery because I'm like, what is going on with you? And I'm like, nothing's working. I was freaking out because everything for my day is on my phone. So if I don't have that, I'm lost.
Yeah, I use Dropbox, and I save everything. Like, I save in my email, I save in Dropbox, I save on my computer. I would die if something happened to that calendar.
I think that's a thing for a lot of people who multitask, and especially since I'm trying to do like the whole writing thing plus go to school, like, and deal with family. It's like, what do I have going on today? What's that? That everything. What? Huh?
I tried to write when I was in school. It didn't work out. I didn't do it. Because I went to grad school, and I was like, nope, that's enough.
No. I was finishing up my associates. Like I said, I was late to go back to school.
I hear you. It took me a long time to finish, too. So,
and then I start at FAU in January. I have to go get a second MMR shot because apparently I went throughout my whole academic career with only one, and you're supposed to have 2. I don't know how that happened, but okay.
Oh.
Yeah, interesting. And Nikki's just smiling at me like, ha.
I'm not ha-haing you. No.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to get you to talk because you're all quiet tonight.
I think there's a delay because every time I'm about to talk, then other people, like, because you know what I mean. It's
Right, let's be quiet.
But, so, for a writer who is on the fence, though, about maybe seeking professional help editing, not, you know,
like psychiatric help.
Let's be honest, working with a good editor is like a good therapist. So
yeah, that's true.
What would you say to them are the pros to having a professional editor work on their manuscript with them?
Are you talking about writers who want to self-publish or writers who want to query agents or editors?
Both.
Both. Okay. If you're going to self-publish, you have to have an editor. I'm sorry, but I have an editor for my self-publishing stuff. At the very least, you need to have it proofread. But it really helps even if you have, and by editor, that could be a trusted critique partner or a beta reader, somebody you trust to look over and make sure that you didn't miss.
But that isn't family or friends.
Preferably not, unless you're friends with writers.
Well, yeah, but not people who are just going to look at your stuff and be like, oh my god, it's great! No, you don't want that.
You want unbiased opinion, so wherever you can get your unbiased opinion from will work, you know? And you don't... I actually have a lot more people who hire me because they want to self-publish, but I still get people who can't find good critique partners or who are concerned that they're not getting good feedback from people and they don't understand what they're doing wrong, quote-unquote, in their manuscripts. I hear that a lot. What am I doing wrong? I don't know what's going on. So, you know, your goals vary. Sometimes I've even had clients who were like, this book is a mess. I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. This is a learning experience for me. I want to use this to learn how to write a book and learn how to understand why my characters aren't clicking, why my plot feels heavy, why my pacing is sluggish, all of those kinds of things. So you can use a manuscript as a teaching experience as well. I mean, how better to learn than on your own stuff?
Oh, I totally agree. I recently worked, not recently, it's probably a couple months ago. My friend has a boutique editing business that she does on the side, and I do some marketing for her, so she'll like edit my stuff for free, and we do like a thing that way. And she was editing this light sci-fi I wrote, and it was really intense, and I learned so much that halfway through I took a break and wrote the book that got me my agent. based off the stuff I learned with her. And it was the best learning experience I ever had, was working with an editor.
Yeah, it feels really good when I edit a book or I work with someone on a proposal and they end up learning from it. And I've had authors who get agents. I've had authors get picked up. I've worked with first-time authors. I've worked with New York Times bestselling authors, and everybody can learn in every book. I believe that an author should continue to try to learn with every book, however you choose to learn. Classes are always good too. You can, there's workshops you can take, or go buy a book, or whatever. You should always be trying to continue your education, I think. I do.
Definitely. I think that says a lot that an editor who's also a published author is continually learning too. It proves that the process never stops, and that you're never above continually learning and trying to make yourself better and getting help from other people.
And it's the same with my editing too. My editing evolves. The more I edit, the more I learn about editing. The more I learn the best ways to communicate certain things with authors, the more I learn which stuff I need to let go, because that's the author's voice. And that's really, really, really important, is to not interfere with the author's voice. You want to help them tighten their prose in the best way that works within their voice.
Cool. That is definitely good advice, that when you are being a critique partner, I think even critique partners can learn from that. It's not your story. You're trying to help them improve their story. So even though you might have a suggestion for something you might do, it might not work for their story because it's their voice, not yours.
One of the things that I encourage critique partners to do are to ask questions instead of putting forth statements. Like, why does the character say this? Sorry, my son's sick, so he's not feeling very good. He's going up to bed. I'll check on you when I get done, okay?
Feel better.
They say feel better. So asking questions can often unlock stuff so that the answer is really coming from the author, not from you. Another way to do it is you can do kind of brainstorming, like, I feel like this chapter is really slow. The dialogue is a little mundane or whatever. Maybe you could try to spice it up a little by adding something more important in there for them to discuss. So not being like, nobody learns from hearing, like, your characters suck.
Yeah.
I've had critiques where I've cried from them before because they've been so hard and unhelpful, where I've actually cried over the document. I'm like, I hate you. Nothing you said is good, And everybody has something that can potentially be helpful. You just have to know your audience, really. Is that person cool with harsh critiques, or do you need to be tactful? Like, I don't like harsh critiques. They don't work for me. I'm honest enough to know that doesn't work. So you got to know who you're dealing with. So as an editor, I err on the side of caution. I try to assume, and I point out lots of stuff that they're doing right too, because that's really important. Not only is it a good ego massage, it also lets them know what they should keep doing.
Absolutely.
If your dialogue is super witty, but nobody tells you have witty dialogue, you may not realize it, so you may not continue to try to, that could be a part of your natural voice that's appealing to readers. So you want to make sure to foster that.
Definitely. So, you have self-published and traditionally published, yes?
Mm-hmm.
So as somebody who's done both, what are the pros and cons for people to know about who are on the fence of which they should do? Does self-publishing hurt traditional publishing, stuff like that?
Well, it hasn't hurt me.
It doesn't seem like it, not at all. So that we can say is definitely probably a myth, unless you're going out there without the editing portion.
Yeah, I absolutely don't believe it will hurt you, so long as you're trying to put out projects of the best quality that you can produce. So let's say it that way. You know what I mean? There are pros and cons to both, honestly. Some of the things that I love about self-publishing, it's in my control. If I don't like the cover that my cover artist is doing, we go back to the drawing board and we start over again. Or if I try a cover out, and I just did this with One Broke Girl and Two Little Lies. I had other covers before, and they weren't selling. So I went back and I bought new covers and I put them up and they sell better now. So, you know, your ability to be more flexible with the market is a really good element of self-publishing. You can play with pricing. You can be a lot more spry, a lot more nimble and responsive when it comes to things that are happening. I put One Broke Girl in a box set, and the box set did really well, and it got me out there. It got new people reading me. You know, I can't do that with a traditionally published book. I don't have the rights to do that. The downside to self-publishing is it's all in your control. So if it's wrong, it sucks to be you because you just spent all this money, you know, and it really sucks when you spend money and you don't make it back. It's a kick in the gut, you know. Being self-published does not translate to, well, I sold 10,000 copies of this book, so now I'm going to definitely interest an agent or editor. There is not necessarily a correlation between there, and now even less than there used to be. You know, I used to have a publisher's marketplace subscription, and I noticed, you know, every day there'd be like a deal or two in there where somebody was acquiring a previously self-published book, and I stopped seeing them after a while. It's just not, you can't use that thinking it's going to be your gateway into traditional publishing, because in general it's not. They want a fresh project to look at. They want something that hasn't already tapped the market, you know?
Exception, not the rule.
What's that?
It's the exception, not the rule.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does happen still, but it's pretty rare that it happens. What else? There is still kind of a stigma, some, with self-publishing. I've had family and friends who are like, when are you going to put out another real book? You know, because the amount of, the amount of time that I've spent writing that book is the same amount of time I spent writing my traditional books. I put the same amount of effort into it. I do the same editing. I put all the same marketing effort into it, but you still get stigma from people sometimes that a self-published book is not as high a quality or isn't a real book like a print book. So,
and I think that falls into because of the people who like do a nano novel and don't edit it and then just throw it out there, and now people are like, oh, these are just people who aren't good enough to get traditionally published, which they could be if they took the time to edit it and everything else, but because they're rushing it and it's not up to par, people are getting that stigma of the self-publishing world, when in reality there are tons of fantastic self-published books. I mean, I don't care if a book is self-published or traditionally published. If I like the storyline and it's well written and it's not riddled with spelling errors or grammar errors or, you know, craziness, then I don't care how you published it, to be perfectly honest.
Absolutely. I read probably last year I read even way more self-published books than I did traditionally published, and this year I've actually been trying to make an effort to read more traditionally published stuff. So I'm trying to balance it out a little more, but I still read very heavily. If the writing is good, I don't care how it's published. I really don't care. I can read it in print or I can read it on my Kindle.
Absolutely. So the reality for me is that I don't make a lot of money, and right now digital is cheaper. Most times. There actually are some more traditionally published books that are the same in print as they are on Kindle now, and I'm like, what are you doing to me?
Oh yeah, that's pretty hard. And so like some of those, honestly, I'll keep in my wish list and I'll just check them out every once in a while and see if they drop in price. If there's something I'm not going to spend $12 on,
if I had the money, I wouldn't mind, because I like supporting authors. Like, I like helping them, and I know that when the book is higher priced, it's going to support them more. I just don't have the means. So I'm always like, oh, you want to get me a gift? Here, I want this book, or, you know, whatever, so you can give that to me. So I do it that way. Yeah, guys, books. I love books for gifts. Hint, hint.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Now, you mentioned the marketing side to self-publishing, and I've heard that sometimes that's the most overlooked part authors don't consider. Can you speak into how that is different for the self-published author?
So some work with publicists, you know, so I can't say across the board. There are publicists out there who work very nicely with self-published authors, and they, you know, will help market your stuff and get it out there. But in general, for most of us, I would say, it's on you. You know, so you have to you have to study what other authors in your genre are doing well and how they're doing it, and break that down and analyze it and figure out what tactics you can use, and be aware that it evolves so quickly, because it used to be the 99-cent point was a guaranteed seller, that if you dropped your book down to 99 cents, you were going to make bank because everybody was going to run out and get it. And now it's like nobody blinks an eye at a 99-cent book, do they? You know? So when you look at marketing, it's really hard, and it's really important to keep in mind that what works for one author is not necessarily going to work for you. So you have to look at what a lot of people are doing, and you have to be willing to be flexible, and you have to understand that there are probably gates that are closed to you because you're self-publishing. Your book is not out on bookstore shelves for the most part. I think I maybe know, I don't know, 1 or 2 self-published authors who've managed to get their stuff in a bookstore, and usually it's because they were doing a signing there, and so they had the print run done for it. You know, it's like really, 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 really hard. The review opportunities are different. Some places will look at self-publish, some still stigmatize against it. The other hard thing about self-publishing is that you're competing with a lot of authors. There are a ton of self-published books out there. It is like there are already so many traditionally published books out there, and then you add all the self-published books out there, and some of them are amazing, and some of them are terrible. And so anybody can put up a book and self-publish it, and that is both awesome and terrible at the same time. Phone's blowing up, sorry.
That's what happens when you're on the show. Because we tag you like crazy on Twitter and, you know, quote you.
They're like, oh my God, that Rhonda girl, she's on crack, you know. Sorry, don't do drugs, children.
No, it's like at Rhonda Helms talks, and so, you know, we promote you on the night. So we're Twitter tagging you left and right. So
thank you.
We're tag teaming the Twitter and.
Yes. Oh, and by the way, guys, if you are not following Rhonda, you can do so at R Helms Books, and I believe her website is rhondahelmsbooks.com, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you can go there and learn more about her editing services and her books. And there is a giveaway going on, whiskeywinewriting.com for Scratch. That wonderful book. I would hold it up because I have the digital copy, so you know.
I'm so jealous because I want to win a copy.
No,
I'll just go buy it now.
So make sure you enter on the blog. Like I said, you can see the website, and if you already have Scratch, you can still enter to win one of her other books. So just because it says Scratch doesn't mean it's just Scratch. So
right. And I will include that to be, I have 3 traditionally published books coming out next year, too. 2 of them are YA, and then 1 of them's a new adult. So if you want to just hold your horses and wait for one of those, you can do that, or you could get one of the books I already have out. Up to you.
Nice.
So you've got all kinds of options. All kinds. So, yeah, make sure you enter in on the blog. I think that runs till midnight tomorrow night, I want to say. Should be. I think I changed it to that because, you know, Rafflecopter wants to make you pay to change the times from midnight, and I don't want to do that. So it runs till midnight, either tonight or tomorrow. So you got a little bit of time, and we'll let Ron know who won and all that stuff. But go on there. Make sure you follow her on Twitter. Check out her lovely, lovely website. And I do love your website, by the way. It's just so pretty. It's all elegant.
I did it myself.
I have no talent to do that.
I just did a template.
That's another important thing, I think, is being savvy with websites and stuff. How important do you think internet presence is for the self-published or traditional published author?
That's a really good question. I will say that, okay, so editor Rhonda's hat is on. If there's an author I'm looking to acquire, I look at your social media presence. I go out and see what you have, if you have a website, if you have Twitter, if you have Facebook, where you are, how many fans you have, how often you're posting. I look at those things because I want to see if you're interacting with the people who are reading you. That said, I don't hold it against you if you're a new author and you don't have that stuff, because some people want to wait until they actually have a book deal before they start worrying about getting themselves out. It's just, I think it's important, but here's author Rhonda's hat. It's not the end all be all. It's you notice how there are two different voices happening here.
I love it. I love it.
I do.
There is no Dana. There's only me. So author Rhonda says, don't sweat it too hard because there's only so much you can do. And really, I feel like the best way to keep yourself out there is to keep writing new books. So in the end, if it comes down to writing 2 pages in your new manuscript or doing a whole bunch of tweeting, you're better off writing the 2 pages, I think. That said, Twitter is my water cooler. I work at home, so I pop by there regularly, you know.
We have a lot of fun on Twitter.
Some days
I love Twitter.
I know that me and Rhonda and Brighton have gone back and forth for a couple hours just on random stuff.
When yeah, and I'm like, I'll edit a paragraph and come back to Twitter and edit another paragraph and yeah. Whoops.
But,
it's like a reward system too, you know. Oh, you can check Twitter if you get to X point.
Yeah, I have to
preventing like, oh my god, I want to strangle X character because they are not at all doing what I want them to do. However, we will reiterate, guys, if you are traditional out there and querying and everything, don't publish the status of your queries. Don't bash agents or other writers or anything like that. Because
Editor Rhonda will tell you, I have looked at your Twitter feed, and I have dodged some bullets before by seeing people who are crazy. I can think of at least 2 authors where I've been like, I do not want to work with you.
Can you define crazy behavior for people who are worried they may be on the fence? Because I think that's a line some people aren't sure about still.
Crazy behavior as in you are really mean to publishing professionals and crapping on them. I've seen authors who were like, I submitted to this particular agent, and they'll name them by name, or this particular publisher, or this editor, and they rejected me. And they were really mean. You know, like, I mean, they'll call you out. And, like, keep in mind, what if I decide to work with you and we're working on edits and you don't like my editing feedback? Are you going to take that to social media and gripe about me? Not that you don't have the right to gripe. That's not the point. But if we're in a professional relationship, you should be coming to me about your concerns, not taking it to social media where it's not actually going to solve anything. So,
well, it might solve the problem of you having a writing career because you know, people seem to forget that even though we are on social media and all this stuff, that it still is a professional relationship, and you don't go out there and bash your boss on social media because as soon as that goes back to your boss, done.
I mean, we're partners. When I'm working with an author, whether it's a freelance author, whether it's a Carina author, we are partners. And when we're working on edits together, nothing I say in there is set in stone. So I look at it as a conversation. This is us having a conversation, me saying, as I went through, these are the things that I think work really well, and these are the things that I think need strengthening, and this is why. And so when you get the manuscript, it's your chance to say, to look it over, mull it over, think about it, decide what you want to work on, if you don't agree with something, guess what? It's your name on the book, not mine. You know? So I guess I don't care about people who have opinions on whatever. That's not what I mean by crazy behavior. I mean super duper unprofessional. I submitted to this publisher and they didn't acquire me, so they're assholes. And I have seen that before, and it's really unprofessional, I think. I would never do it. And I hesitate to work with people who would be that willing to crap all over somebody in such a way. That's me, and some people really don't care. I know editors who don't have any social media. They don't care what you say on it because they're not looking. They don't care, you know? So this is just me. Your mileage may vary, la la la, all the usual exceptions, blah blah blah.
Yeah, somebody was doing like 10 queries or something. I don't remember what it was, but somebody was like, I would rather sell my sold than traditionally publish and have to deal with agents like this. And I was like, good for you, Sparky. Like, literally, I tweeted him that. I was like, good for you, Sparky. What? I don't understand. It's like, okay, it's a business, guys. You got to work for it, just like you have to work for anything else in life. You can't just write a sentence and expect it to be gold. You know, you have to work, you have to edit, and you have to be respectful.
It's really interesting. Yeah, it's interesting to me to see the people who are passionate about one side or the other. And then I'm kind of straddling that line with both of them because I like the freedom to be able to do both. I can tell you that there's a lot of things Kensington has done for me that no publisher has ever done for me before. They have gotten my book reviewed by places where I've never been reviewed before. My publicist works so hard for me. She is awesome. She is the best publicist I have ever had. And I've written for like 3 or 4 different publishers. So, you know, I am always grateful. There's pros and cons to everything. Everything. And it may vary by book, too. There may be a book that you write that's more suited towards self-publishing or a series you want to do, and then the next series, you might want to query an agent or an editor with it. And it's your right and your choice. It's your career. It's not your agent's career, and it's not me as an editor's career. It's your career. You have to decide what's right for you, you know?
And I think that's a good point, is that it can go either way. It can go both ways. You don't have to do just one or the other. And I think that's the way this industry is heading more towards, being a mix of both to make it a full-on career that people can live off of and do full-time.
I'm just glad that writers have the flexibility and the option to be able to do what works for them instead of feeling like they are trapped. That if they have a book that they believe in but traditional publishers have rejected it, they don't have to stick it under their bed and just cry that that book never goes anywhere. Mm-hmm. Or if they have a book that they don't want to query agents and editors, they just want to publish it, they can do that. It's just so good that in our day and age we have those options, you know?
Absolutely. I think that kind of goes back to the article we posted on whiskeyWineWriting.com, how writing is no longer like a solitary endeavor where it was 20, 30 years ago, where people would just be holed up in their house or, you know, at the library, whatever, writing, typing away. I think it's become more of a group effort between the ability and the flexibility we have through social media, you know, video, talking to editors, agents, everything like that. It has become much more of a group effort to become an author and a writer, and sorry, my dog's barking, to do all that and to make it the best story it could be, because now you have the ability to have this community that is going to lift you up and support you and show you all the different avenues and, you know, help you out in whatever way they can. Whereas 20 years ago, we didn't have this flexibility to do that. Even around here, I don't know many writers in my neighborhood or anything like that. Most of my critique partners and everything like that is strictly online. 20 years ago, we didn't have that.
Speaking of the writing community online, so we talked about a little about what a crazy author does. Can you tell?
Oh God, I hope that doesn't end up like.
No, it's great because I think people need to know, and I think maybe sometimes people who are maybe social media shy are just afraid that they're going to come off as the crazy social media person because they don't know what to do. So what would you say to someone who is hesitant to be on social media on little things they can do to put themselves out there in a positive way in the beginning stages?
So different social media has different purposes. If you look at, like, for example, Tumblr. Tumblr looks like it's pretty much all, like, porn and cat pictures, right? If you're into porn and cat pictures, yeah, and, you know, naked men and whatever. So Tumblr is very image-driven, I like to think of it as. So an easy thing you can do is you create a Tumblr account and you can just repost things that other people are posting, and every once in a while just intersperse your own original thing in there. It's super easy, it's low interaction with people, it's mostly just you redisplaying other things that people have displayed. So if you're kind of afraid, like, I'm not too into interacting with people, Tumblr might be a good one for you. Twitter is, like, chaotic, it's hectic, it's 50 different conversations going on, and you just jump in here and there. It's like I view it as like a fast-moving stream, and every once in a while you kind of dip your foot in it and cool off, and then you go back out. And then later on, and when you come back to it, the stream is different. It's different water, it's different fish floating through, maybe some leaves or whatever. I'm really running with this metaphor. So the point is, accept that about it. You have to embrace the chaos. You don't need to be on there all the time. I would say, I think even posting, I don't know, a few times a day, maybe. You could do anywhere from a couple times a day. Just be, the important thing is to try to interact with other people when you do. When you hop on, look at what people are posting. If someone posts something that's funny, reply back to them, tell them it made you laugh, or retweet things. Try to, for me, Twitter is about engaging in micro conversations. So you're just doing little tiny back and forths, and of course, like when we talk, it goes on and on and on, because we're
but the funny thing is that if we didn't have those micro conversations, we never would have wound up following each other.
Right.
And you make so many connections through Twitter, and that's one of the things I love about it. I met you and Brighton and Jen and everybody, so many different people through Twitter that are a part of this great industry, and it gives you great social networking connections to help you improve your writing.
Yeah, I mean, I've done writing sprints with people on Twitter, so it's helped my productivity in that way, surprisingly.
I love those.
Oh my God, some days it's like that's the only thing that makes me write.
If you ever need to do one, call me, because I live for word sprints.
Yes, I'm in. I also like about Twitter that you can see other industry professionals. So if you're not sure what to post, look at what other people are posting and see what feels comfortable for you. You can see what other editors and agents are posting. You can see what other authors are posting. You don't have to. You do what you feel comfortable with. So Twitter, pop in and out. Don't worry too much about trying to follow every conversation going on. You're never going to do it unless you're only following like 2 people. And if so, you need to get out a little more. broaden up what you're doing. Facebook is a place to have better conversations, but a lot of your posts are not going to be seen by your fans because Facebook has their mysterious devilry witchcraft algorithm thing, which means you may have 1,500 fans on your Facebook page, but only 25 people saw your post, and you're like, what is this nonsense stuff? What is this? I don't get it. But, so with Facebook, what I try to think about is posting stuff that people will reshare on their page. So that expands how many views I get. So I view Facebook as the place where I do more self-promo on Facebook than I do on Twitter, but I try to do stuff that's like having a sale, contest, things that will get people to either comment on my stuff or to share it.
I have my Twitter connected to my Facebook so that anything I tweet just goes there automatically, so it doesn't lay there dormant either.
Yeah, and on all of these, you have to make an effort. But you don't have to do everything. And with Facebook, you can actually plan posts ahead. So you can sit down on Sunday evening and plan out all your posts for the week and schedule them out. So if you don't want to be on Facebook a lot, you don't have to be. But I do recommend if people post that you try to go by and like their stuff or reply to some. Again, just like with Twitter, it's about interaction. The reason why people are talking to you on Twitter and Facebook, if you're an author and they're fans of yours, is because they want to talk to you. They want to interact with you. Sometimes they may ask questions that seem really obvious, like, is this the first book in the series? Or is this book available in print? Instead of getting frustrated about that, maybe try to think that they're looking for an excuse to reach out to you. So I had a friend who she and I were talking about a big scandal that there was an author previously who was all angry that somebody asked her questions that were really Googleable, which, that's totally a word. So she got really pissed and she was very ranty about it, and, the friend and I were like, no, I would love to have as many readers as you have. Come read me. I'll answer every question of yours. So, I don't know. I guess it's like, for social media, just study them, see which fits in with what works best for you. You don't have to do them all. There are people who sell books without having any social media presence at all. you know? So it's not a 100% necessary thing, but I do sell books through my social media. I sell books through Facebook and Twitter. So it's worth it to do it. But those are the two that I focus on. I used to have others. I cut them back because I want to focus my time on the things that I know help me reach people and on the writing, you know?
Yeah, we have like everything for Whiskey, Wine, and Writing, but we have Google Plus because that's where we get our live hangouts from. We don't really do anything on there except for have the
Right.
So, I mean, we're mostly through Twitter, the blog, and all that posts to Facebook. We don't even have to manage the page. It just goes straight there. And that's another thing that I love about WordPress is that it interconnects everything.
WordPress is the best.
Yeah.
If I could write a love letter to WordPress.
How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. So we are coming to the end of the hour, Rhonda. Thank you so much for being here. Is there anything you kind of just want to throw out there for everybody? Anything we haven't touched base on that you would like people to hear from you?
Yeah, I talked a little bit about the pros and cons of self-publishing. I didn't talk a lot about the traditional publishing stuff, so maybe I'll hit that for just a minute.
Go for it.
So traditional publishing, pros, getting to see your book in the bookstore. The first time I saw mine, I totally cried. I admit, and there's nothing wrong with having a goal of seeing your book in a bookstore. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that because that was a goal of mine, and I still love it. It still kind of makes me like, you know. So if that's a goal for you, there's nothing to be ashamed of for that, you know. But be aware that you lose a lot of control that you don't have with self-publishing. You don't get the authoritative control over your covers. So you may get input, but in the end, the publisher's going to do the cover that they want to do. So you will get stuck with what you get stuck with. You may or may not like your editor. You may end up having an editor who doesn't edit you at all, or an editor who you're like, well, why did you acquire this book since you have ripped it to shreds? You know, so you may not be in bookstores at all, even if you're in print, you know? So you may earn less money, you may earn more money than you would self-publishing. It's all in what your goals are, and the best thing to do is to study the people in your genre who are doing really well, writing the kind of thing you want to write, and look at how they're doing it, and I guess see what you can glean from them.
That's awesome. You have been so fantastic and given so much wonderful advice. You're like Rhonda the Guru. I love it.
Oh, really quickly, I'm doing a plotting workshop in January. So if anybody, like, there's a lot of people who are super duper afraid of plotting, or they're really intimidated about it, or they hate it, or whatever. So I have this nerdy Plotto method that I do that has helped me with every single book I do, and it's helped other people too. But, you know, if you're interested, drop me an email, and I'll give you details about it. It's in January. It's for the whole month.
What email do you want them to use?
Rhonda@rhondaedits.com.
Awesome. There we go. So now they can email you about it, because you're like, email me, and I'm like...
And email me. You can also go through my website, rhondahelmsbooks.com. There's an email contact thingy on there, too. So if you don't remember that, that's fine. Just go to my website and email me.
I still don't know how you do it all. Now on top of all the editing, you're doing a workshop. Oh, my God. She's like Superwoman.
Well,
Rhonda!
It helps when you have the workshop already written. Like this one I've offered a couple of times now, so you know I only have to make small little changes here and there as I do it. It really does help when it's already all done up.
Is it like a video type thing that you do, or
no? It's through Yahoo groups. So every Tuesday and Thursday morning I'll post a new lesson, and you go on at your leisure. You read the lesson over. I also post a homework assignment, and then you work at your pace. If you only have time to look at it on the weekends, you go on the weekends and you post it. It's just through a Yahoo group.
Oh, that's pretty nifty.
Yeah, you know, and that because a lot of people work during the day, so there's not like a live chat going on. Sometimes I do those, but for this usually it's just the online lessons, and then you go on and post your reply, and then I download it and I offer you personalized feedback on your homework. And
That's
we actually go through different things about plotting, how to tie goal, motivation, and conflict into your plot so that it feels organic, how to tie subplots in so that they feel organic into your story, how to structure your outline so you actually make sure that your story is well paced.
That sounds fantastic.
Nikki, I thought Nikki wanted to say something. I'm
No, I
trying.
was
You
like,
guys like, I just want to cut you off.
That's okay. We're done. I'm sorry. I was yapping.
So, all right. So then I think we're going to call it a night, guys. Rhonda, I do want to thank you so much for being on the show. Again, guys, follow her at rhelmsbooks for Twitter, and you can go to rhondahelmsbooks.com for her blog and the list of her books and this wonderful plotting workshop she has informed us all about. So go find that and make sure to check out the giveaway on the blog for Scratch or any of the other books that you may want that Rhonda has written and published.
Thank you.
Yay.
Yay.
Bye, guys.